When you're in your 30s, you feel like it's going to be the decade where everything is finally falling into place. Better income, more stability, greater progress. But for a lot of people, this is the decade where money actually feels harder, not easier. You're usually earning more than what you were in your 20s, but you're finding more responsibility comes with that income, and no one really explains why. If you're in your 30s and you feel like you're earning more, but you're stressing more, you're not alone. Let's walk through what no one tells you about financial progress in your 30s, especially here in Australia, and what actually matters most. My name is Melanie Davies. I'm a licensed independent financial advisor. Everything I share here is general information only. It's not personalised financial advice, so always get advice specific to your situation. My financial services guide is linked below. Your 30s are the pressure decade. This is where everything starts happening at the same time. You've got big career expectations, housing decisions start to get serious, and there's relationships, and perhaps you're having children. And all these kinds of things start driving your decisions. And suddenly money has consequences. You're stretched even though you're earning more. In reality, high income without structure usually means bigger commitments and bigger lifestyle costs. And suddenly it's harder to see where your money goes. This is why financial stress often increases as you start to earn more. Your 30s are where structure can replace chaos if you know how. Otherwise, this becomes the decade where bad habits start compounding and not paying attention gets really expensive. And hidden expenses, which are those that just flow out of your bank account without you actively controlling them, grow into long-term setbacks, and suddenly those kinds of expenses start to feel normal. I'm talking about things like gym memberships that you don't use, streaming services that no one watches, or more expensive ones like insurance premiums on insurance policies you haven't reviewed, or car loans on uncompetitive interest rates, or credit card debt. So these ones, left unchecked and ignored, don't feel like bad decisions. They just quietly become part of your baseline. Progress here, when you know how, isn't flashy, it's quiet, it's deliberate, and it's protective. You need to check your cash flow and learn how to. So in your 20s, for some awareness is enough, and for others it needs to be perfect. But in your 30s, control really matters, and this means knowing exactly what your fixed commitments are and understanding and generating some surplus income, not guessing at what's left by accident at the end of your pay period, and actively managing lifestyle inflation as your income increases. You will notice that more income doesn't automatically mean more progress. Only your own self-directed income does. And if you don't decide where your surplus income goes, it just disappears. I'll link to a budget planner below. It's not hard to do. It's the easiest thing to do. Money Smart have a great one. I've used it myself. It's the best way to get in control of your finances, and it's the first step to create wealth. Don't skip this because you'll pretty much need to know how to do this for the rest of your life. In your 30s, superannuation should no longer be passive. This is where super really starts to matter. You don't need to obsess over it, but you do need to be a bit more intentional. So you should be choosing the right super fund for you and consolidating if you've got multiple super funds early on. Now, don't make a spontaneous decision here. Get real advice from a qualified professional. This is really important. You also need to understand your investment option, and you need to check that your employer contributions are actually landing in the right place and being invested how they should be. And have a look at your insurance and your super fund. Get help and advice tailored to your situation here. So talk to your super fund or an advisor. This is the decade where avoiding decades of duplicate fees actually makes a really big difference over time. And in your 30s, your debt strategy needs to start, especially if you have a mortgage. Your 30s are when mortgage structure really matters. Offset accounts start doing real work, and paying more frequently can really reduce the interest that you pay over time. And knowing your interest rate and reviewing that regularly, it's really important. Your 30s are a great decade to check out investing versus debt repayment. This one is about understanding how to compare what you're paying in interest on your mortgage versus investment returns after tax, after fees, over the longer term. Now, once you understand that comparison, decisions stop feeling emotional and they start feeling strategic. I'll link to my video which goes through all of this, explaining low risk versus high risk investing understanding the trade-off between each of them, and learning about the expected earning rates and how you compare this to what you're paying on your debt. There's no universal answer that applies to everyone because everyone's going to be different here. But not understanding the trade-off can be costly. And another thing to think about in this decade is education funding if you've got kids arriving. This is about having awareness and taking some steps. The key to this one is understanding the future education costs and timeframes. And options early, like setting up an education fund, starting with a small amount and having a regular direct debit in place. Getting familiar with this means that you avoid panic decisions later, and planning doesn't lock you in. It gives you some breathing room later on and then the flexibility to direct those future savings to an investment account. So what does real progress look like in your 30s? If you're in this stage, focus on consistency, diversification, cash flow awareness, risk management, long-term planning, and not taking quick shortcuts. Generally, you don't need perfect decisions and win every single time, but you do need repeatable, boring, sensible ones that are moving you forward. So the reframe you need for your 30s, here's the mind shift I want you to take away. Your 30s aren't about winging it anymore. They're about awareness, and they're about stabilisation, and they're about making choices. This is the decade where you move in the right direction when your income becomes intentional and having structure helps you to progress. And then good decisions make your future much easier. And if you get this right, your 40s become strategic, your 50s become confident, and then your future becomes flexible. Financial progress looks different at every age. The key is knowing what actually matters where you are right now. You don't need to panic and change everything all at once. Small, consistent, and steady progress really adds up. And if you can see yourself getting on track, hit save and come back to this one as you work through each step, one habit at a time. And if you want more practical, realistic money advice for real life, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.